Alexa, did Chelsea Football Club beat Tottenham Hotspur yesterday?
Yesterday in the English Premier League, Chelsea beat Tottenham 2-0 at New Tottenham Stadium in London, England. According to reference.com, the Old Farmer's Almanac features sunrise and planting charts, recipes, tables and weather forecasts.
Alexa, please be quiet. How we've gone from Tottenham versus Chelsea telling me the score to telling me about planting, I don't know. But yes, guys, welcome back to the George Benson Football Channel. 6 things that we learned from Tottenham Hotspur 0, Chelsea 2. It was a faultless performance yesterday from Chelsea. Every single man, from Kepa all the way up to Tammy Abraham, you did every single person who is a blue in London, all over the world yesterday. You did us proud. So thank you, Chelsea, for making my Christmas. It's been a weird month for me for a numerous different conglomerate of reasons, but football is always something that can drag me up when I'm feeling a little bit down. And yesterday, honestly, one of the best days of the decade. To go to Tottenham, I remember when we won there at Wembley and we won 2-1. Marcus Alonso scored 2. Marcus Alonso! I went there that day with the worst hangover ever. I went there yesterday without a real genuine belief that we could win. The only thing I went there with was the remembrance that we are Chelsea Football Club and that we are the only team in London with the European Cup. We're the biggest club in London. We're the greatest club in London. We turn up and we deliver when no one expects us to. Chelsea go to Spurs, totally out of form. It's the master versus the apprentice. And what does the apprentice do? He says, "No, you're not the special one anymore." Frank didn't say that. Chelsea fans were singing that. Now, I respect everything that Mourinho's done, but yesterday, it was an iconic moment in Chelsea Football Club's history where Frank Lampard, the greatest ever player to put on the blue shirt, steps up and beats Chelsea's most successful ever manager in his own backyard, in the club that he's gone and signed for after saying he would never be able to do that to the Chelsea fans. So yesterday, that was a victory for everyone. The scenes at the end of the game, by the way, if you're not yet subscribed to the George Benson Football Channel, then you're missing out on scenes like this. And if you want to watch the full unedited version of that, be sure to go and check out the match vlog that I posted on this channel yesterday from Spurs 0, Chelsea 2. It was just an unbelievable moment. I was in the front row. Lawrence and I were there. Everyone around us, there was, a different variety of ages. There were people younger than me. I'm 25. The guys next to me were a bit older than me. Everyone embracing, hugging, enjoying what was a special day for Chelsea Football Club. And yes, we talk about iconic moments in history. Reality of the situation is we've just gone a little bit further clear in the top 4. Football's a progressive thing. Every single other day, there's a new game to worry about. But we're going to ride this wave for a little bit longer, at least over the Christmas table. If you've got a Spurs relative, then, you can pull a cracker with him and just make sure you hold it a little bit tighter, because the only person winning anything this Christmas is Chelsea. No Spurs. But anyway, the first thing we need to do, and I feel as though I needed to fill this box with gold stars, because I genuinely think that this man has been at Chelsea for a very long time. I put him in my team of the decade on the substitutes bench, but from what he did yesterday, you could even argue that that alone deserves a starting place for the Brazilian magician, Willian. That was his best performance in a Chelsea shirt yesterday. People bring up Barcelona, but it wasn't just the goals, by the way. The first goal, he's got the bit between his teeth and he's, you know what, I don't like you, Spurs. I am going to go through and I'm going to bury this one past Gazaniga, but there's no one who's going to save that. Willian was on a different planet. The penalty, brilliant composure again. He takes the spot kick because Jorginho's on the bench. He grabs the ball. Chelsea's number 10. Eden Hazard would have been proud of that. In fact, he was proud of that. And again, just little thing extra, a little added caveat to what was an incredible day. Seeing Eden Hazard praising Willian on social media as well. Willian scores the penalty. And then after that, there were a couple of moments, and I hate to bring this up, where I was like, come on, Willie, track back, run. And then he did it. I was just like, come on, yes, he's finally doing everything that we've always wanted him to do in one match in the game where we need him to do it most. Spurs away, Willian turned up and put in his best ever performance in a Chelsea shirt. Speaking of Chelsea shirts, there was one lucky geezer, a couple of seats away from me, who managed to get Willian's shirt at the end of the game. You can see the clip over the top of this video right now. Beautiful moment, and then the embrace with Frank Lampard, and it just showed how, yes, Frank may be young. Frank may not be the most tactically experienced manager that there is in world football, but what Frank has is this connection with the players on a level where he understands the connection between what the fans expect, what the players need to be showing on the pitch every time they step out. And for a game like this one, when it's Tottenham Hotspur away, he knows that it's make or break for Chelsea fans' Christmases. And whether, it doesn't matter about the quality that is on the pitch. We've seen in the past that Chelsea have been outdone by when it comes to like the quality all over the pitch. Yet in 2012, we overcame all the odds and won the Champions League. And I think a lot of why yesterday was so good is because players like Willian, players like Alonso, who we'll go on to in a moment, these players showed up and gave absolutely everything because the match meant everything to Chelsea Football Club. And I think with Frank being of an age where he has only just pretty much retired from being a professional footballer, now into professional management, he's got that relatability with these players. He's got the experience for the youngsters, and for players like Willian, who was so good yesterday, he's got that connection where not only has he played with the bloke, but at the same time, he also knows how to utilise these older players in order to build this team up from the youngsters all the way through to the likes of Willian, Azpilicueta, with that experience to carry Chelsea forward. Moving in to box number 2, Marcos Alonso. I mean, I, again, eat a slice of humble pie. I thought he was done. I thought the fact that Frank Lampard wasn't picking Alonso in any of his matchday squads, let alone starting 11s, was a sure-tale sign that Alonso didn't have a future at Chelsea. And I think that a lot of people would agree that it certainly looked as though Alonso's Chelsea career was heading in that direction, whereas yesterday, what we saw from Alonso was him playing in his best position. There is a reason why Marcos Alonso was a mainstay in this Chelsea team under Antonio Conte when we were playing with 3 centre-backs with wing-backs moving forward. The thing that Alonso does very well, and I often think that it's something that Emerson doesn't do as well as Alonso does, and yes, it's a different formation and the way that we set out on the pitch is very different, but what Alonso did extremely well yesterday, and he was never drawn into anything but this, Alonso was always around 1 or 2 metres at maximum away from the touchline. Now what this did, particularly when Spurs went down to 10 men, is it totally stretched the game for Chelsea, creating passing options that weren't just through central systems, that weren't just along the back line. It stretched the game and he went as far forward as he possibly could without being too far out of position, which at times, from a defensive standpoint, my biggest criticism of Alonso is that, yeah, he's always in good attacking positions, but when we need him to be in defensive positions, he's not in the right place. Whereas yesterday, the way that he managed his runs and he managed his movement going forward, always hugging that touchline to give passing options for Chelsea to play out from the back, and when he needed to defensively do his roles as well, he did it extremely well. And for me, again, it's not Alonso's best ever game in a Chelsea shirt, because that was another time when we played Spurs away. Remember that one? But yesterday, he came back in and he did himself proud. And all the Chelsea fans yesterday were singing Marcos Alonso, runs down the wing for me, scores 2 at Wembley. And it was nice to see the Alonso that we know on his day can put in a really good match-defining performance, and yesterday I thought he was absolutely superb again. So player number 3, and this man has come in for a lot of criticism recently. You guys know, he's my boy, it's Mason Mount. He gets a green box yesterday. Even though he didn't score, and we want to see him adding more goals and assists to his game, Mason Mount had his best game in a Chelsea shirt yesterday. For me, that is a coming-of-age performance. We've seen a good start to the season from him. We've seen a dip in form. We go to one of the most hostile places we could go as Chelsea. We go to a team that's in good form, playing against Jose Mourinho. Frank Lampard kept the faith in Mason Mount, despite a lot of people calling for him to maybe drop to start using different options. Mason Mount put in the best hard-working performance of the season. He was always chasing down the Spurs players. He looked very confident on the ball, very comfortable carrying the ball, trying to find the little passes in between the lines. Mason Mount was an absolute nuisance yesterday. I've got a good friend of mine who's a Spurs fan. He goes to every single game, home and away for Spurs, and in Europe as well. And he sent me a message after the game yesterday, first of all, saying, well played, we deserve it, which was actually really nice. A lot nicer than a lot of the other things going on from Spurs fans yesterday. We'll get into that a little bit later. It was one of those things where everyone could see how hard Mason Mount worked yesterday. Yes, there'll be a few people on social media who don't know how to praise a player for a good performance because they've got an agenda against an individual. And, you know, that's absolutely fine. Doesn't detract away from the facts. Mason Mount worked extremely hard again yesterday. Not only did he work hard, but when he had the ball, he used it in a really, really good way, created opportunities for Chelsea, and I think it's probably, like I said, his best performance so far in a Chelsea shirt. Mason Mount was brilliant. Moving into box number 4, and I've had to put all of these three guys together, they were absolutely flipping superb yesterday. And it's 6 things we learned, not 66 things we learned. So I couldn't stretch this out anymore. Doesn't matter how good the performance is, I always want to try and keep it at 6 things. Otherwise, there's really no point in the series. You might as well just make it a few things we learn every game. You know what I mean? Rudiger, Zuma, Tomori. 3 absolute units at the back for Chelsea. I call Zuma Maldini. I just like it. I think Maldini's one of the best centre-backs that's ever lived. Zuma yesterday, again, was just brilliant. I think he's been our best centre-back in recent weeks. Fikayo Tomori's been out injured. He comes back in, and yet again, yet another top-class winger. Lucas Moura didn't have a sniff. Harry Kane, what's he doing? Heung-min Son, off the pitch, mate. Dele Alli, just a flipping idiot. Fikayo Tomori, yet again, showing that he is a player with an abundance of confidence, playing with a confidence way above that of his age and experience at the highest level in English football. He's not only, for me, a mainstay in the Chelsea defence now, whether that is with a 3 at the back or a 2 at the back. I think Tomori has to be in there for all of the different qualities and attributes he brings to this Chelsea side. But yesterday, there's been times in a few of the recent games before his injury where I thought he might have panicked a little bit at the back and then he overhits a pass or he tries to make too risky of a pass. Yesterday, he looked so calm. You know, I don't want to give Spurs fans too much credit for anything. They don't really deserve that after what happened yesterday, but they were pretty loud in that first 20 minutes. At the start of the game, I did think, and I mean like first 5 minutes, I did think that Chelsea looked a little bit nervous. But if there was one player on the ball who didn't look nervous at all, it was Fikayo Tomori. He was brilliant. Rudiger, I just flipping love the bloke. You know, like, he suffered abuse yesterday. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to talk about it at the end of this video. But to have that mental stamina to be able to put up with these insults that are just disgraceful, disgusting, coming into your ears from the sidelines, but knowing damn well the game must go on and a clean sheet is up for grabs. And Chelsea's win away at Spurs is up for grabs, whether Spurs have 11 or 10 men. Rudiger yesterday, that mentality, he was brilliant. He was faultless with his tackle, always winning the ball, keeping an eye on the movements of the Spurs strikers. Now, whether you like Spurs or not, I personally flipping hate them, but I can appreciate that they've got some very talented footballers, particularly when they're going forward. Rudiger, he had Son, he had Kane, he had Eriksen when he came on, he had every flipping man in a white shirt in his pocket, and credit to Rudiger for doing his job as a professional footballer. What I can only describe, and I will try to link you guys to 2 videos that I've made. I'll put them as cards on the screen. I'll leave a link in the description. And I don't want to stand back and just not mention this, because it is my role as a man who has some kind of influence in the world of football, even if it's within a small packed area of the Chelsea fan base. There is no way we can stand by racism in football anymore. Whether it is Chelsea fans who often get a bad name for it, Tottenham fans, any fan, Italian football, it's disgraceful. And I think the only thing we can really do is to keep reminding everybody else within the global media of football, keep telling people how wrong this is and how we will not stand for it. We will try to eradicate it from the sport. The issue is that people grow up where they're told something is right or something is wrong. They're told to think a certain way about this, and then people are blinded by a tunnel vision of something that has been put into their brain from someone older than them who's got an extremely outdated view on the way society should be ran. And I'm not saying it was okay 50 years ago. It wasn't okay 50 years ago, but it wasn't as vocally tackled as it is trying to be now. And the only way we can make any further movements is to keep talking about it, to keep saying that these people are not welcome in football. Football is a sport that brings people together, whether you're black, Asian, white, or anything else for that matter. And I'm sorry that I didn't just reel off every single race. We have a beautiful sport. We have a beautiful rivalry between clubs that don't like one another. But to bring the colour of someone's skin into something that is extremely malicious and with only intent to hurt someone, there is no place for that in football whatsoever. And even if it's just me mentioning this in this video today, keep that in mind, spread the message, spread the word. I'll leave links in the description to 2 other videos that I've made discussing this subject since the beginning of the season. It is getting worse because the voices are getting louder, yet it's people like me and people like you, good people in this footballing world, who need to keep elevating the good voice to try and eradicate this from our sport. So anyway, that is box number 4. Box number 5, we've got to talk about the captain again. I mean, Azpilicueta, I've given him a tricky time this season. There's been games that he's had where I've just given him maybe not as much credit as he deserved. Champions League, big goals from Azpilicueta. He's our joint top goal scorer in the Champions League. And yesterday, when I saw the team sheet, I thought, well, surely we're going to need Reece James to be putting the balls into the box for Tammy, to be linking up the play with Willian. Azpilicueta, do I think he's as good as Reece James going forward? I don't think so. But yet again, Azpilicueta turns up in a massive Chelsea game with the captain's armband on his arm, and he carries the team to victory with big blocks. You know, like, yeah, he didn't touch the ball when Son put it over, but he did just about enough to put Son off, to keep the game at 1-0 Chelsea, to keep us in the driving seat. I thought positionally yesterday, Azpilicueta was absolutely phenomenal. There's a very good reason why Spurs didn't get that many attempts or didn't think they had a single shot on target. It's because the whole back line, we've mentioned Alonso, we've mentioned the three centre-backs, Azpilicueta was absolutely brilliant again. And even going forward, he went forward with confidence. He was always trying to get to the byline, to get crosses into the box, to connect the play in the final third. I thought Azpilicueta led by example, and it's games like this that remind me as to why Cesar Azpilicueta has been one of the best signings that Chelsea have made in the past decade. Not only that, but I just genuinely feel as though he's still got so much more to give. Whether we want Reece James to be in the team or not, I think it's totally irrelevant. Azpilicueta was absolutely brilliant yesterday. And box number 6. I've got to dedicate this box to Frank. I've got to dedicate this box to Jody Morris, the birthday man, who made some comments about Chelsea not being able to beat the top 6, said Jose Mourinho. What does Jody come out and do? Bit of sarcastic banter. Could have made Chelsea look a bit daft if Spurs end up taking over Chelsea and going into the top 4 leading into Christmas. But here we are, Christmas Eve. We're sat here doing 6 things that we learned. Chelsea can't beat the big 6, they say. Well, they flipping can. We just went to Tottenham and won. Jody Morris, happy flipping birthday. Frank Lampard, you are literally my flipping hero. I will love you until I end up in the flipping grave. Super Frankie Lampard. One of the happiest moments yesterday. If I think about like individual moments of just being like, this is just flipping brilliant. Everything around me. Frank coming over to the fans. His passion. We will get top 4 this season because of that. It's just that connection. We mentioned it with the whole thing with Willian. The way that Frank understands this club. The way that Frank understands us fans. The way that Frank can get into the heads of these players to remind them what it's like to wear the Chelsea badge. As I just hit the Brixton sign on my shirt. But, you know, I'm just doing it as if like Frank was doing it yesterday. It was absolutely beautiful. And I think that to be able to make such a big decision, to change things tactically so drastically, to go to a 3-4-3. Yes, we've seen Chelsea do it before. But to change the 4-2-3-1, the 4-3-3, to just be like, no, I've got faith in my players. I've told them to go out and play a certain way. They did it to perfection, and credit to Frank Lampard. I read a book by Robert Greene. It's called Mastery. And if any of you want book recommendations, some people ask me on Instagram. The book is about learning from people. The book is about looking up to mentors. Jose Mourinho, whether you love him or hate him, he's still one of Frank Lampard's mentors in football. Jose Mourinho made Frank into the player that he became. Frank has self-proclaimed that himself. And yesterday, to see the apprentice take over the master and be like, thank you for everything you've done, but this is my time. I am Chelsea's special one now. Frank didn't say that. I said that. Everyone else has said that too. And I think that yesterday will be a very iconic moment when we look forward in a few years' time. Whether Frank remains our manager for the long haul or not, this will go down as one of the best away days that I've ever experienced and one of the greatest wins just before Christmas when we needed it most that Chelsea have had in many, many years. It has been an incredible weekend to be a Chelsea fan. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and as I said, go and check out the match vlog. It is on its way. It's creeping up towards 100,000 views, or it might do, so if you haven't yet seen it, I advise you go and watch it. Subscribe to the George Benson Football channel if you want daily videos talking about Chelsea, similarly to this one. We've got Southampton on Boxing Day. I don't know if I'm going to be going or if I'm going to be staying back here with family. I'm not entirely sure yet, but obviously I'll be doing something around the game nonetheless. Even though it's Christmas, I will take some time off. You guys should do the same, but I'll still be trying to make videos. I'll probably do something for you lot tomorrow as well. I've got a little tasty one up my sleeve that I think you guys are going to absolutely love. Thank you for all of the support. We're almost at 80,000 subscribers. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and I will see you all on Christmas Eve. Bye-bye.